Today I'm doing front brake pads and rotors on a Lexus 2013 iS250 all-wheel drive. You're going to need a 14mm, a 17 for the rotors, and a 14 for the brake pads. Before I start, I'm going to remove this right here. I'm going to use needle nose to remove this rubber boot from the bleeder valve, and I'm going to loosen the bleeder valve, and I'm going to just slightly tighten it. And now I'm going to loosen these two bolts, 1 and 2, the ones that holds the pads, the 14. Once you loosen them, you can unscrew it by hand. Then you got this right here and that, which holds the rotor in place. When you take this off, you got to remove the rotor. If the rotor is stuck on like this one, you're going to need to hammer it out. It's gonna put up a fight, just keep hammering it and it'll eventually come off. After 5 minutes of beating his rotor with the hammer, it finally came off. Just hoping my neighbors won't get mad at me. Now that I got this one loose, I'll put the new rotor in. I'll put it in backwards first. I'm going to spray it with some brake cleaner. Oh, this one ran out. I'm going to use a new can. When you spray it, you want to give it a quick wipe. Let me spray it one more time. Now I will flip it and do the other side. And you can also use a bolt to hold the rotor in place. Same thing, spray. Wipe it down. Spray again. And these are the new pads. And I'll also spray the pads too, both of them, and let them sit. While I'm doing that, I will get this right here and put in these new pieces. These right here, if your kit comes with a rebuild kit, I recommend you put in the new ones in. It's pretty easy. Just get some needle nose and pull them out. And you can put the new ones in. Now they're nice and shiny. Before I put the new pads on, I'm going to remove these out. And I'm going to put some grease in this boot right here. And you make sure it's well lubricated. Spin it like this, forward and backward, and press it in and out like that, because you want it to be lubricated and not stuck in here. And you also do the same thing on that one too. Now that I greased up these, that and that, I will stick it back in. I'll put on the rotor caliper bolts. I always start it by hand. Once I get them hand tight, I use the wrench to tighten it. Once you know they're securely tight, you can put the pads back on. And once you do that, you can get the rotor, the caliper bracket, and put it back on. Here's the caliper, and before I put it back on, I'm going to compress the piston caliper back in. And remember how I loosened the bleeder valve earlier? Now it's easier to loosen. When it's really tight on, it's real hard at this angle, so that's why I loosened it earlier. So I'm gonna just loosen it a little bit. I'm going to get the old brake pad, put it in right there, and put in a piston compressor in. And I'm going to squeeze it, and you're going to see the brake fluid come out of the bleeder valve. It makes it easier to compress, and you don't want any old fluid to go back into your brake system. Okay, once it's completely tight, you want to tighten the bleeder valve back. And remove the piston compressor out. When you're done compressing the piston, that's when you want to put this back in. And put your caliper bolts back in. Always by hand. Once the top and bottom is as tight as you can by hand, then you want to get the wrench and tighten it. There you go, the job is done. Just make sure you put the rubber boot back on that you took off, and compress your brake pedals when it's really tight, and then you know it's safe to drive. And that's it. It was pretty easy, not that long, probably like 30 minutes per side. Thank you for watching.